no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
I beg to move that this House do now adjourn.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. John Cooper.
Yeah. This way. This way.
Right, he hasn't tied yet.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And it's good to see so many right honourable and honourable members in their place as we skate through the choppy waters that are the fish and chips sector. For the chips are down for fish suppers. And while the word iconic is overused, surely fish and chips warrant that label. At Heathrow Airport, visitors are greeted with signs extolling the virtues of what is, or what was, our national dish. Welcome to Britain, land of drizzle, warm beer, warm welcomes and fabulous fish suppers. Happy to.
I thank the member for taking an intervention. So, fish and chips is a great British food, but fish and chips first came to Britain with Jewish immigrants from Spain in the 16th century. Cold fried fish was a staple of many Shabbat lunches, including my own grandma. Now, the first chippy is credited to Joseph Malin, who added chips in about 1860 in London. What a great idea, and what a great immigration story.
Well, I thank the honourable member for his intervention. A fascinating history lesson there. During the war, again, back to history, fish and chips were deemed so vital to the nation's morale that Prime Minister Winston Churchill insisted they be exempt from rationing. If the ingredients were available, then fish suppers were on the menu and chip shops got extra cooking fat to keep the home fryers burning. Happy to give way to my near neighbour.
Madam Deputy, can I commend the honourable gentleman for Dumfries and Galloway? And I'm mindful that the best chips come from Cumber Spuds and the best fish comes from Portavogie, where that well-known... that's just me talking and building up my own area. But does he agree that the new fisheries management plans has resulted in reduced total allowable catches, affecting local supply? It means that the cod in Northern Ireland a supper is now, when it was £6 to £7, it's now £10 to £11.50. Does the honourable member agree that without intervention, the fish and chip shop days will be as few as the fishermen's days at sea?
Well, I thank my near neighbour for his intervention there, and he presages some of what I'm going to touch on now. Because today all is not well. Romano Pertucci, proprietor of the Central Cafe in my hometown of Stranraer, is just one of many business people warning that this staple is fast becoming an unaffordable luxury. Data from the ONS indicates the average price of a portion of takeaway fish and chips was £10.96 in December, up from £9.99 the year before, an increase of 10%. This was higher than the average price increases for other takeaway meals, or carry-outs as we call them in Scotland. Over the same period, the average price of a Chinese takeaway main course increased by 4%. The average price of a takeaway Indian main course increased by 3%, while the average price of a takeaway pizza increased by just 2%. And that £10 barrier is hugely significant, for customers generally have a ceiling on what they regard as reasonable, perhaps £6 for a coffee, £7 for a pint of beer. Above that, sales dip. And no wonder at £40 or more for a fish dinner for a family of four. And so sadly it's proved. ONS say that sales of fish and chips fell by 21% in 2024. Happy to give way.
Giving way on that point, and I would like to say that if you're paying £6 for a coffee, you should come to Darlington, where it definitely isn't £6. And we also have the best place for fish and chips, with Yarm Road Fisheries and Cockerton Fisheries both winning awards. So please do consider a visit to Darlington and try some really pucker fish and chips.
Very much for that intervention, and I certainly wouldn't pay £6 myself for a coffee. £7 for a pint. If I can find it cheaper than that, I think I'll be there. Certainly, yeah.
Just as we're talking about the best chips, I mean, the first fish and chip shop was actually in East London, where I was born. I've got a chip shop challenge where I am going around London trying the chips, any excuse. It's actually a really important part of our economy in London, and so the honourable gentleman's debate is really vital and important. This week, my chip shop challenge went viral, Madam Deputy Speaker, because I got some abuse from somebody, but it was absolute bollocks. But thank you very much.
I thank the Honourable Lady for her interesting intervention. Her chip challenge sounds like a lot of fun, and I defer to the Lady Speaker about the question of proper parliamentary language. I'm sure it's perfectly acceptable. But fish and chip shops accounted for 60% in that fall in sales, with 36 million fewer portions of fish and chips sold in fish and chip shops in 2024 compared to 2023. Something, Madam Deputy Speaker, has gone drastically wrong. And worse, it's not just one thing, but a series of issues. And I have some sympathy with the Minister here, because DEFRA are not directly responsible for all these matters. But DEFRA of all departments should realise that government must not work in silos and instead should work across Whitehall. A key reason for prices, I feel like I'm swimming upstream here, but I'm happy to give way.
Giving way. Just on that point, I recently had a conversation with a chip shop in my constituency. One of the issues they raised was actually getting younger people interested in going into the business, because there are other opportunities elsewhere. Indeed, the person I spoke to, it was a family business, had moved on to other opportunities. He's coming on to the point of the many issues. Does he agree that actually we need to look at opportunities through education and catering colleges to encourage people that this is still a viable business and an opportunity? Because like many other long-standing businesses, if interest is lost, that's how they die out. So that's one of the issues we need to look at.
I thank the Honourable Gentleman for his intervention there. He makes a very good point. I will touch on this question of skills in a few moments. But a key reason for prices leaping like a salmon is an increase in the price of fish itself. Incredibly, for an island nation, we are a net importer of fish. Previously, a high proportion of fish used in the UK was imported from Russia, though in March 2022 the government rightly imposed a 35% tariff on Russian seafood imports following the illegal invasion of Ukraine. That invasion also hit flour prices and the price of sunflower oil, both major Ukrainian exports. There was also a reduction in the North Sea cod quota, which my honourable friend, who's not in his place now, mentioned. I'm happy to give way.
I'm very grateful to the honourable gentleman for giving way, and he's setting out really well the challenges that fish and chip shops are facing in this difficult international climate. But there are domestic issues too, and North East Lincolnshire Council in my constituency plan to pedestrianise Cleethorpes Marketplace, which Steele's famous corner house fish and chip restaurant say could amount to £150,000 loss in click and collect orders alone. Does he agree with me that local authorities should be doing all that they can to support our favourite fish and chip shops?
Well, it's a very important point, and we should, of course, support businesses of all kinds. And pedestrianisation can be a double-edged sword. One of the difficulties is the weather in this country, and there's nothing better than pulling up right outside the shop that you want to go to. So it's a really, it's a balanced decision on that. The reduction in the North Sea cod quota for 2025 reduced supply, and prices increased, of course. I'm more a haddock man myself. Cod is one of the top 5 imported and consumed species in the UK. And Labour's failed mackerel for missiles deal gave the EU further rights in our waters, but did not give us access to Europe's multi-billion pound safe defence fund. And the EU now takes 7 times more fish by value from our waters than we take from theirs. Fish and chip shops have faced challenges from increased electricity prices owing to use of high energy-intensive cooking appliances. Increased energy costs have also contributed to higher potato prices, with more to come as CBAM is an effective fertiliser tax, putting perhaps an extra £100 per tonne on. And even changes to reliefs on double cab pickups, the farmers' workhorse, have all increased potato prices. And let's hear no nonsense about the people behind the counter being low-skilled. Today's fish fry could be tomorrow's FTSE 100 CEO or the founder of a €1 billion so-called unicorn startup. They work with cash, high-value stock, and crucially, they learn communication skills dealing with the public. But increases to the minimum wage, which is not paid by the government, though Labour like to pretend that it is, but by hard-pressed businesses, are also an issue. And an increase in employers' national insurance, which puts a bounty of about £900 on the head of each employee. No wonder youth unemployment is rising. The truth is... Happy to give way?
He's outlining some of the economic challenges that the sector are facing. One of my constituents is heavily involved in the National Fish Fryers Federation, and he was telling me that he often feels that the government are very good at listening to UK hospitality and other big sectors, but they don't necessarily understand the specific local issues of this sector. Does he agree with me that we would welcome seeing more communication and better collaboration between them?
Absolutely, the honourable member makes a very good point. I think many industries are not treated as an industry. Agriculture is one where it's treated as a series of small individual businesses, and the totality of it is not taken into account. A very fair point. But the truth is that the Labour's Employment Rights Bill is about the clipboard class, the trade union apparatchiks, and not really about actual hard-working people. At what point workers' rights if that all-important first job eludes you? Madam Deputy Speaker, will the fish supper go the way of the red telephone box, much loved but a relic of the past? Will Labour Party indifference turn a British staple into a luxury for the elite? Whether you call it a fish supper, a one-in-one, or just regular fish and chips, this government risks frittering away a classic. Thank you.
Dame Angela Eagle.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Yet again condemned to talk a lot about food, but kept from tea or dinner time or whatever we want to say. I did the backbench business debate on farming and fishing and didn't get lunch while everyone happily talked about food. It's a sort of torture that you get when you're in this particular job, but I think perhaps it'll do well for my diet. I'd like to, first of all, congratulate the Honourable gentleman, for the member for Dumfries and Galloway, for raising this issue today. It's been one of the more popular adjournment debates, I think, given the interventions that we've had from all sides of the House. And I think that demonstrates what a place in everybody's heart fish and chip suppers actually have in this country. And so I congratulate him for getting this adjournment debate tonight, which I'm happy to answer. But he is right in pointing out that some of the issues he's raised are not directly issues for DEFRA, but I will do my best to answer some of them as I go through my contribution to the questions that he's asked. I know he raised this in January when he asked my right honourable friend, the Leader of the House, if the fish supper had had its chips, something he's done again today. I note the various puns that people have come up with and somewhat dubious use of fish species to give the impression that other words may have been said which wouldn't have been parliamentary in this House. But perhaps it's a good idea to notice that the pollock fishery is doing quite well and has recently been reopened to commercial fishing after some good yes, I will when I've actually finished the sentence. But there were some good measures taken which has managed to revive some of the pollock fishery, but we won't go into detail. We're happy to give way.
Thank you. Just to ask the question, so we have a load of pollocks, yes?
I think that we agree about pollock fishing reviving. I think is probably what I'm going to say, and obviously I hope Hansard are listening extremely carefully, or we're all going to get into serious trouble. I think after years in which the sector was left to cope with rising costs and global shocks on its own, I think this government's taking a different approach. We understand that if we want these businesses to survive and thrive, then we have to get involved. We need to support fishers who land the catch, the farmers who grow the potatoes, and the high street traders who keep their doors open and deliver the final product, millions upon millions upon millions of times every year. So maintaining a secure and affordable supply of fish is of key importance. We are... yes?
I'm very grateful to her for giving way. The supply of fish is an international business. It is really, really complicated where it comes from. One of the issues that has been problematic is post-Brexit. Some of our super trawlers, like the Kirkella, are no longer able to supply to the UK, which has elevated the cost of this food.
Well, my honourable friend is unique in many ways in England because she has this deep-sea trawler, which is the Kirkella she's just mentioned, which is, can be out for months trawling and processing, I believe, and bringing back absolutely processed products. And there are some issues about where the Kirkella can fish, given what's happening with fish supplies, which I'm happy to talk to her about. And I hope at some stage to visit her constituency, so I can have a look at this incredible vessel myself. But we're supporting the UK fleet to ensure that it's got access to opportunities to catch cod and haddock, still migrating north, one of the problems with it, as well as being overfished. In 2026, the government secured approximately £115 million of fishing opportunities for these stocks. We're also taking steps to restore stocks to sustainable levels so we can continue harvesting them over the long term. For example, we've recently agreed measures such as seasonal closures with the EU and Norway to protect northern shelf cod, which is in a particularly parlous state. Fish and chip shops are, however, particularly reliant, as the Honourable Gentleman said, on imports of fish. Maintaining sustainable stocks of whitefish in UK waters means we have to import large volumes of whitefish to meet demand. Relationships with trading partners such as Norway and Iceland, where these stocks can be fished, are therefore critical. Industries used to depend heavily on Russian frozen at sea fillets, as again the Honourable Gentleman mentioned in his speech, but since the war in Ukraine, costs have risen sharply because business have had to find alternative supplies to stay competitive. We're supporting the sector in seeking alternative species and sources of fish to move away from any remaining Russian-caught fish in the supply chain. And we're working with the National Federation of Fish Fryers and Cornish Fish Producers Organisation to reintroduce British-caught rock salmon on the menu, for example. Of course, I don't need to tell you, Madam Deputy Speaker, that you can't have a fish and chip supper without potatoes. Potatoes from our seed and ware potato farms to our fresh and processing sector, they continue to play an important role in UK farming and food production. I was pleased to see that the Scottish planted area rose for the second year in a row, despite the challenges of the weather and global disruptions faced by the whole arable community this year. The government remains committed to working with the farming sector to deliver stability, confidence and growth. The Secretary of State set out at the Oxford Farming Conference that the new Sustainable Farming Incentive offer for 2026 will be more focused, more transparent and fairer so that more people can benefit. We continue to invest in our farming sectors. The Farming Collaboration Fund will provide up to £30 million over the next 3 years, delivering a new approach to farm collaboration and advice, and it will back existing and new farmer groups, link them with expert support and help create strong partnerships that drive growth and deliver environmental outcomes. We're putting partnership with the sector on a firmer footing. Farmers and food businesses will have a stronger voice at the heart of government. A new Farming and Food Partnership Board, chaired by the Secretary of State and I, will drive growth, productivity and long-term profitability. This will remove barriers to investment and improve how the supply chain works. This complements our work to develop a 25-year farming roadmap, single long-term plan, bringing together regulation, innovation, skills investment, environmental recovery, and hoping certainly that we can make our farming sector as profitable and nimble as it's possible to be. Now, the Honourable Gentleman mentioned cooking oil, again an important aspect of the production of fish and chip suppers. The price and supply of cooking oil is important, and as he pointed out, Ukraine is a major supplier of sunflower oil, but supply chains were severely disrupted after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. As a result, the UK suspended tariffs on sunflower oil imports from the 1st of January 2023. Last year, we extended the tariff suspension until the 31st of December 2026, so that importers will continue to have tariff-free access to sunflower oil. We're currently seeking views on whether the suspension should be extended for another 2 years, and clearly anyone listening to this who has a view about that in the fish and chip sector or anywhere else should get in touch with us about their views on this important issue. Happy to.
Thank you, Minister, for giving way. I won't make any fish puns. I don't see it as my place. One of the points that I would just like to make is obviously we've got fantastic fish and chipperies in Harrogate and Knaresborough, including Oatlands Mount. When I speak to local chippy owners, one of the things that they were saying that would deliver a meaningful boost to them is if we could see a cut in VAT for hospitality restaurants, the likes of a Chippy too. I wonder if that might be something she'd be able to pass on to her colleagues in the other Department of the Treasury.
Well, I'm happy to pass it on. I think I'll skate over the honourable member's attempts at fish puns. I'm happy to pass it on. It's not a matter for DEFRA, as he might point out, but I think that as VAT, as an ex-Treasury Minister, I can say that VAT is a very, very large bringer in of resource, and fiddling around to make the system more complex is often not the best way of achieving an aim, but something that I think the Lib Dems do with rather a lot of things, and they give away the simplicity that you can sometimes get with something like a sales tax. But I'm happy to pass on the contribution the honourable gentleman made. Now, we recognise that small hospitality businesses, including fish and chip shops, are under real pressure, which is why we've started to reform the business rates system to better support the high street. The government is producing a new permanently lower tax for eligible retail, hospitality and leisure properties, which include fish and chip shops. As announced in the budget, these new tax rates are worth nearly £1 billion per year in foregone tax revenue for the Treasury and will benefit 75,000 properties. Fish and chip shops benefit from a £4.3 billion support package protecting businesses from steep bill increases. Meanwhile, the smallest businesses have also been protected by increases in the employment allowance from the effect of NICS changes. Later this year, we'll bring forward a new high street strategy to reinvigorate our communities, and we'll work with business and representative bodies to pull this strategy together. It will be a cross-government strategy, and we'll be looking at what more government can do to support our high streets. Now, we recognise, and the honourable gentleman talked about a minimum wage, but the government accepted the Low Pay Commission's recommendations on the minimum wage in full, which supports the lowest paid workers. And as he knows, although this is a cost of business, there is a balance here in terms of what the lowest paid workers can get in exchange for their labour. And of course, when they get a reasonable pay, they also put that money into the local economy. So there's a balance, it's not all on one side. And I'm sure he wouldn't want the fish and chip shop sector to rely on very, very, very low wages in order to maintain itself. So the balance that the government has decided to strike is to accept Low Pay Commission's recommendations on national minimum wage levels, independently made in full. We recognise that the sector is under pressure as a result of energy prices and are taking action to support them, such as through the permanent cut to business rates for hospitality announced in the recent budget. The government is concerned for hospitality businesses and the challenges they can face securing appropriate, fair and competitively priced energy contracts. To address this, the government and Ofgem work closely together to identify and implement policy changes which can improve energy costs in the non-domestic market. 2 years ago, Ofgem concluded an extensive non-domestic market review. Interventions to support businesses since this have included expanding the overreaching standards of conduct for suppliers to all non-domestic customers, clearer rules on deemed rates and required standards for managing changes of occupancy. The government has also recently announced a decision to directly regulate energy brokers and other third-party intermediaries where there is some evidence of abuse. While third-party intermediaries can support businesses to secure more tailored and better value energy contracts, some rogue brokers exploit customers through excessive commission or predatory sales tactics, which could prevent businesses from accessing competitive energy prices. Regulation will help ensure that business can trust that brokers are acting in their best interests. If parliamentary time allows, the government are working to have Ofgem ready to implement regulation in this area in the second half of 2027. In addition to new regulation, the government has also published a consultation with proposals to strengthen the powers of the Energy Ombudsman to ensure consumers receive fairer and faster redress when things go wrong. Both these measures will improve competition in the energy market and ensure that non-domestic customers, such as those heating sunflower oil to fry those chips in, are able to access free dispute resolution support. Over 600 hospitality small and medium-sized enterprises across England will receive free energy usage and carbon reduction assessments and advice and guidance to help them cut carbon, cut costs and support increased productivity and growth. This project is expected to save businesses an average of £5,000 a year, and it's already identifying key behavioural changes that can have a significant impact on energy bills, and I hope that's something the fish and chip sector can certainly be made aware of and hopefully be able to exploit itself. Fish and chip shops, along with all small and medium-sized enterprises, can access advice on reducing their energy bills and the business benefits of decarbonisation through the UK Business Climate Hub and the Business Growth Service. Fish and chip shops may be small in size, Madam Deputy Speaker, but they embody something much bigger. The value of work, community, pride in British produce. So while the last government looked the other way and costs piled up, we are taking responsibility. We're backing the fishers and the farmers who supply this great British staple, and we're backing the traders who serve it to millions. This government will always be on the side of those who work, who keep our plates full and keep the high streets alive. With the right support, Madam Deputy Speaker, these businesses can thrive, and this iconic part of our national life will be there for generations of Friday night fish and chip suppers in the future.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Order, order.